Well, this is Kevin Min with Outside the Games. Thank you so much for joining us on our show. We have a special guest with us here. It's Janine Davis. She is the women's head basketball coach for Fisk University out of Nashville, Tennessee. Hey, nice to have you, Janine.
Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Oh, you bet. You bet. It's been a pleasure. How do you define family for Janine Davis? And in what aspects does that mean to you when it involves your life and, you know, how you make an impact on others?
Well, for me, family means anyone in your life that you can depend on. It doesn't have to necessarily be blood. It can be your friends that become family, you know, your actual family that are your blood. But I think that anyone that you can lean on in tough times, good times, great times, at any time, I think they're your family.
Yeah, no, very important. Let's get into a little bit of who Janine Davis is now. Obviously, being head basketball coach, women's basketball coach there at the university, a university that's been around for quite some time. 18, what was it?
1866.
1866. And tell me, you're now into your second year, if I remember correctly. But let's discuss family when it talks about who Janine Davis is. Your parents, how did they make an impact in your life to be the person that you are today and the coach that you are today?
So growing up, my parents supported me from day one. I started playing basketball when I was 3 years old, and I started playing with boys. Growing up in Brooklyn, New York, you know, they were at every game, and I was playing up with boys, and they supported me. Moving forward, they were there at every single game. And throughout my college career, they would come to all my games. I went to George Washington University for 2 years, and then I transferred to Fisk University. They just supported me, even my coaching career. After I graduated, you know, they allowed me to stay at home and live there rent-free while I was pursuing my coaching career dream. So they supported me from day one. I could not have been here without them.
Yeah, how important is it to have a family that supports you? But then you look at the extension of that family. We kind of defined what that family meant to you, or what family means to you. But the extension of family when it comes to actually attending a university like Fisk, and again, it's funny, you attended Fisk University, you're coaching now at Fisk University. So tell me how that all works.
So for me, growing up too, I had coaches that were like my dad at the time, my mom at the time, and I tried to be that for my players. You know, I'm a little bit older than them, so they look at me as a big sister, which is still family. But, you know, I'm sister, I'm auntie, I'm mommy to all of my players. And I'm just someone that they can lean on in times of need because they are here without their immediate family. And, you know, times get tough in college too. So because I had those type of mentors in my life, I try to be that for them.
When you talked about you having both parents, there are, you know, I heard from a lot of different coaches that sometimes in certain circumstances, your players don't have both parents. And so there's a lot of different things, like when it comes to economic, financial hardships, there's that piece, but then there's also the family unit, the family structure. Tell me a little bit about how that can be a challenge.
It can be a challenge a little bit because, you know, if these players are growing up without a two-person household and then they come here, it's kind of like they need guidance. And that's where I try to step in and be that mom away from home for them. But it also can make them strong. You know, they come in here independent young women and having to learn how to maneuver through that type of situation before they even get here. I think it actually helps mold them too.
And when you talk about, you know, your playing days, you know, I would assume, and I don't like to assume, but you were a guard.
I was a point guard, yes.
There you go. There you go. So the ball was always in your hands at age 3.
Yes.
So you understand offenses and defenses and what's been thrown at you in the past. We'll take high school, for example. And then throughout high school and then your college days, how did those times help you to be a good coach? Because what I found out with coaches, they grab a little bit from mentors or coaches that have coached them up, and they bring a little bit of a wrinkle with that to what their philosophy is, your philosophy on the court, and bringing that to your women playing the game. Tell me about that a little bit.
So in high school, I played for St. Michael Academy, which was a top high school at the time. And my coach was Apache Pascal, who passed away, I want to say, in 2012 from cancer. But, you know, he didn't hold my hand. He made me think as a player, which shaped me to be the coach that I am. I was playing for Exodus NYC, which now is a top EYBL program in New York, under Apache 2. When I graduated and came back to coach, I started coaching for Exodus. And the director, Thomas Davis, who was Apache's cousin, he even shaped me to be who I am now because he didn't hold my hand too. Basically, I was thrown to the fire. In college, you know, the same thing. I came in as a freshman and I had to hit the ground running. So a lot of it was my coaches trusted me as the point guard, and I was a reflection of them. And I did take a little bit from everyone to make it into my own philosophy. But I think a lot of it is just learning as I went.
You know, when you play the game too, because again, it's not about an individual sport. I mean, there's some individuality in aspects of scoring the ball, setting up your teammates, and so on and so forth. But tell me about being a point guard and when you played, and then kind of seeing what you're doing in coaching, say your point guard or whatever. How do you help? How did you do with regards to getting your teammates involved, and how do you explain to your point guard now at Fisk currently how to get their teammates involved? And you know, because again, it's a team sport, right?
Right. So being a point guard, I had to know all of the plays, position 1 through 5. It was I just know my position and that's it. Because I'm a point guard, I had to learn how to play work inside and out. You know, and I try to instill that into my point guard now. And a part of it too was knowing the strengths and weaknesses of your teammates and knowing how to push them so that their strengths become even better and that you work on their weaknesses. And I think that ties right into being a coach too.
Now, looking at academics, okay, how are you in academics, and how important do you, what kind of importance do you put on academics for you as a, you know, being a player at one time and now a coach, and seeing it from that angle?
Academics are very important, because basketball does not last forever. And I definitely instill that into my kids now. When I was growing up, I couldn't walk in the house with a low GPA. My parents weren't playing that at all. And then in college, when I was at George Washington, you know, I was on the dean's list, and then I transferred to Fisk. And I fell under a 3.0 when I graduated just because I got a D in my algebra class, because me and math just didn't get along. But up until then, you know, I had great grades. And I try to show my kids that importance, because, you know, it's times I have study hall. You know, like if we're on the road for a whole week, I won't keep them in practice forever so that they can do their work. I'll let them out if I know they have a big exam the next day, or sometimes specific kids will miss a practice because they have to do this paper or they have to get ready for that, you know, that big test, because that's what's more important to me.
I wanted to focus on something because you said something about when you were struggling with a subject, right? It causes for you to kind of give more attention to it, right? Because you're wanting to improve the grade. I kind of want you to share with our viewers, and especially those student athletes that are kind of navigating, like there's always a subject that is not going to be your best subject, right? How do you work at that? How do you improve in that? So then that way, yes, you know it's not your best subject, and you know you're good at other subjects, but how you can improve that?
Don't be afraid to ask for help. That's my biggest advice. You know, everyone struggles at some point in time, and if they tell you that they didn't, they're lying. So, you know, I wasn't afraid to ask for help. I went to my professor. I told him I was struggling. He gave me the extra help. I went to tutoring. I asked my peers for help. I leaned on my teammates, and I was essentially failing that class. So to even get that D, it was actually like, oh my gosh, yay, I passed the class, I can graduate. Because I couldn't get it. And I didn't get frustrated. I just sat back and I used my resources. So I think that's the biggest advice. Don't be afraid to ask for help and use your resources that you have.
Is there also a thing of where you're seeking also counselors? Those that are able to kind of help you along with some of those things that you maybe have questions about, or to seek study hall, make time for it? Again, a lot of it's time management, isn't it?
Yes, a lot of it is definitely time management, and that's the biggest thing in college. And I always tell everybody that the biggest transition from high school to college is time management. So I did reach out to the counseling center as far as for like getting set up with the tutor. That's using the resources that you had. If you're in high school and you're struggling with a subject, go to your guidance counselor. They can help you get on the right track, or go to your actual teacher. They can definitely help you too.
Yeah, what's some advice that you have for student athletes? Because again, high school goes so quick. You could probably remember when you were in high school, it was like freshman year and then boom, I'm a senior. What is some good advice you can give to the student athlete with regards to their GPA and their academics when they first get into as a freshman year? Because a lot of it is it's eye-opening, right? Trying to figure out classes, trying to figure out where to go. Where's my class here? Where can I find guidance or the study hall or my teacher? Make time for my teachers. What kind of advice do you have for them?
So my advice for high school students, for both boys and girls, would be take it serious from the start. When you go in as a freshman, your freshman GPA counts just as much as your sophomore, your junior, and your senior year.
That's powerful.
Yes, everything is weighted the same. Don't wait until my junior year to say, I'm going to get it together. So utilize your resources and ask for help even as a freshman. And just take the time out to take your academics serious, because I've seen this happen a lot of times. Even with me recruiting a certain student athlete, just couldn't come to my school now because they didn't have the proper grades to get in, or they weren't going to qualify through the NAIA because of their ACT score or whatever. And if you tackle that in the beginning, you'll be able to come out on top. And again, it's okay if you are struggling. There's nothing wrong with that. We're all human. We're going to struggle at some point in time. Just don't let it get out of hand to the point where you can't catch up.
And looking at the high school student when they're dealing with the academics from that aspect, when they move to college though, what do you find out a lot about your players or players in general when they're making that leap to say college, from high school to college? Because you're now talking about differences with the academics now, the professors now. Your teachers, now you go to professors. And the aspect of also time management with even if you're becoming a student athlete, being an athlete, you have to have good time management. So tell me what that jump is, and what people could expect if they're trying to play basketball or football or whatever sport it is from the high school up to college.
So I think the biggest thing for freshmen coming into college would be the transition of knowing how to manage your time. A lot of times it just becomes overwhelming to them because they're trying to balance the travel, the academics, the basketball or the football or whatever sport they're in. And I think that if you actually get a planner and write it down, like on a Monday, I need to have this done. Tuesday, I need to have that done. Wednesday, and include your practice schedule, your study hall, and your classes, and even include your time to eat. Like sometimes you just have to write everything down so that you stay on track with that. Don't be afraid to have a planner, because before I didn't have a planner coming into my freshman year. And, that was the greatest advice that one of my counselors told me. And I was like, wow, it actually does help, because I looked back on the planner and I was like, okay, well, I didn't get that done. I would have forgot, just have a lot going on. And I think that would be the biggest help.
Do you also look at, because a lot of student athletes have phones.
Yeah, of course.
And phones, yes, you can text on them, social media, Snapchat. I still haven't figured that out. Twitter, Instagram. I mean, the phone is used a lot of times for those media platforms, but there's a thing called reminders on there, and a way to use your phone. Have you found it that using your phone can also be a different addition on top of the planner?
Oh yes, definitely. Me now, I put my reminders in my phone for my meetings that I have, because I have a lot going on and it can slip my mind too. And I think that, you know, if you do write stuff down, you can also put that into your calendar or your planner so that your phone will remind you, because a lot of times you're out and about, and that's the beauty of the smartphone now. So I definitely think that that definitely helps out a lot.
Right. You know, there was something that, you know, we've seen a little bit of, you know, the NAIA, right? In college, especially for men's and women's hoops. We saw a little bit of the Last Dance on ESPN. Scottie Pippen from Central Arkansas out of an NAIA, and we learned something new, that the guy was an equipment manager and worked himself up to being a player, finally getting a scholarship, and being eventually drafted to the NBA. Tell me about what you kind of explained the mindset to a student athlete and say, like, yes, D1 is D1, but also NAIA offers some opportunities as well. And we kind of saw that with Scottie Pippen and with the Bulls in Central Arkansas at NAIA school.
So honestly, the NAIA is a very competitive league. Don't get it twisted or misconstrued or anything like that. For me personally at Fisk, I'm allowed to give partial athletic scholarships. Okay. So, you know, like if I have a kid who has great academics and they're getting a $15,000 academic scholarship, and then I come in and give them a partial athletic, and then they get the FAFSA, you know, they can come out with not paying much of anything.
Wow.
So all NAIA schools are great platforms to move on to where you want to do. It's just how you attack it and how you utilize your time there, you know. And he is the perfect example of it. He went in with a different mindset and came out on top. And that can be anybody. It's no matter where you are, it's what you do when you're there.
You know, tell me, Janine, I noticed you know, you said you were from Brooklyn. Tell me that Brooklyn mentality, there's something about that, something special about that Brooklyn mentality. It's like perseverance. You know, you throw anything my way. I've been to New York. I've been to Brooklyn. I can tell you this. There's a lot of perseverance, a lot of focus, a lot of determination. Hey, throw anything my way, I'm going to plow right through it. Is that kind of the mentality that people from Brooklyn have?
Yes. I mean, honestly, that's the mentality of everybody from New York City. You know, we're always on the go. We always have to figure it out. Things are always being thrown our way from Monday through Sunday. So, you know, no day is the same in New York City either. You know, I was riding the train at 14 years old to get to school, to high school. Wow. And, you know, yeah, so you grow up faster, but it does give you a different mentality of having to think for yourself and just figuring it out. So, I mean, New York is just different.
It is. And with independence comes responsibility, correct?
Yes, 100%. And, you know, that's where my parents came in to guide me, because they were there every step of the way. And, you know, I made some bad decisions sometimes, and they would not come down on me, but they would just tell me what I could have done differently. And I think that's where my parents did mold me into the person that I am today.
And I think that bodes well for you too, especially when you're talking to your ladies on and off the court. And it's almost like a way of mentorship, right?
Yeah, honestly, I'm super transparent with my players. I let them know the mistakes I made, because I want them to know I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? And I did make some bad decisions sometimes, but it's what I did after those bad decisions that brought me to where I am today. So if they see like I'm living proof of I can make it through that, then like they feel like, well, maybe I can too. And a lot of times like, I do share certain stories with them, and they're looking at me like, wow, I never would have known. Because like, look at you now. I'm like, yeah, and this can be you at age 28 years old. You get what I'm saying? And everyone's like, you know, like, you're super young to be a head coach. on the college level. And it's just, I worked hard for it to get to where I am. And that can be anybody.
You know, coaching does not stop, right? You're
No.
always on the go, like you said, but you're always learning. And I think that's something to be said, like on any level of women's basketball. You know, you're learning from these coaches and what they install and what they do. How do you utilize coaching clinics for Janine Davis? Because that's a time that you're able to grow, and your coaches too, that you bring with you, can grow as assistants and as head coaches, getting better at being better coaches and better leaders, correct?
Yes, 100%. Honestly, coaching never stops. We don't have a day off. If someone told you that, they lied. We don't have a day off, okay? You know, a typical 9 to 5, you get up for work at 5 o'clock and then you're done. No, my phone's going off until midnight sometimes. I'm taking phone calls till midnight, or I'm waking up early to get some work done. And, you know, those virtual coaches clinics that are going on right now actually has helped me a lot.
Wow.
Because now I actually have time to sit back and just learn and develop my mind as a coach, you know. And I think that you should always be learning as a coach, watching basketball, watching what other coaches do in certain situations. My biggest thing as a coach that I love to personally do is look at the end of games, when the games are like on the line, tied up, and you need that one basket to win. You know what I mean? I'm looking at what play they drew up, or I'm looking at what defense they did at this time and that time, and then, you know, taking a little bit from each coach and then putting it into my own. You know, I love learning and just talking to other coaches, like, well, what would you have done in this situation and stuff like that.
Tell me what it's been. We're living in right now is an unprecedented time of COVID-19. It's really changed our lives in a sense of social gathering, especially when it comes to sports and how it's had a big impact on sports. With COVID-19, Janine, Coach, what are you doing in regards to getting your players still up to speed, training, so on and so forth, having meetings like this? You know, how are you able to kind of deal with this you know, pandemic that's been happening all over?
So with me personally, I speak to my players almost every day. We're in a group chat. All of my players have iPhones, so we fit into one iPhone group chat, luckily.
There's no excuse, players. There's no excuse.
Right. So, you know, we have the FaceTime call, because, you know, you can have multiple people on FaceTime. So we do that. Or we try to just talk about regular stuff, you know, just to keep their spirits up. And I've told them, everyone in America is dealing with this. You're not the only one. It's how you're going to utilize this time to become a better person. So I'm making sure that they're on top of their academics. You know, they're finishing up, I think their finals are this week online. So, you know, like I'm focusing on that for this week. It's a different focus each week, each day. So this week, I'm not talking about basketball. I'm talking about your finals, your academics, and finishing up the strongest that you can. Our strength and conditioning coach, you know, he's giving them the workouts that they can do on their own, which are just body weight workouts because they can't go to a gym.
Right.
And, you know, luckily I do have a great staff that they can do that. And then I can kind of sit back and let them handle that part. And then I just talk about, you know, basketball stuff. And, you know, like I sent them post workouts, guard workouts, stuff that they can just work on their own.
What is a good staff that you put together? How much does that mean to a coach?
It means everything, because I can't do everything by myself. So, like I said, me being able to step back and let my strength and conditioning coach do that. Let my other assistant coach, who's great at nutrition and stuff, and she's sending them stuff that they need to be eating. And that's big too as a college athlete. You know, if we all lack something, the next person on your staff should be able to pick you up so that we all become one on one page. And, you know, there's a lot of times when I might be upset about something, and then my assistant can just come in and, take over and, like tell me all right, I got this. And it's something like that. I don't believe that me being a head coach is my way or no way. Like, I feel like I lean on my assistant coaches too.
You just, you went into something that I thought was interesting, because a lot of people don't, student athletes, they don't look at this, and some do, but some don't. But the aspect of how important sleep and nutrition is for a student athlete.
It's very vital to you performing the best that you can. If you don't get enough sleep, you won't perform the way you need to perform. Not even on the court, just to focus in the classroom. Like, if you're not eating the things that you need to be eating, you're going to be 10 times slower than what you need to be. So, and that's another thing too, for like high school students that need to understand the transition. It's more than just waking up and going to practice. It's watching what you eat. It's being able to focus in the classroom, when you're tired, and finding time to take those naps during the day. Like, that's big too, and I think that my kids are actually getting it now. They're understanding that. And I've seen a tremendous improvement in their ability to perform on the court.
Yeah, and in all facets, classroom, their life, that's huge. So let's talk a little bit about your girls and what you have coming in, and tell me a little bit about your season last year. Again, this was season 1 for you. Tell me how Fisk was doing.
So we went 7 for 26, but we did win one more game than they did last year. So I guess that was.
There you go.
I'm losing one senior, but I am bringing in 5 new student athletes. 4 will be freshmen, 1 transfer, and they all come from great programs. And they just have that different mentality and that mindset of, I want to win. And now my returning student athletes now, they're returning with a different mindset as well. Because, coming in, they didn't know me. They didn't know what to expect. And we were trying to change the culture at Fisk. And I think we're moving in the right direction.
And with that, I mean, you look at the players that you bring in, how the 5 that have come in, is your outlook in recruiting that you look everywhere? I mean, it really doesn't matter, or is there a certain place that you're pulling talent out of high schools?
No, I look everywhere. I have a kid coming from Cali. I have a kid from Texas coming in. I have a kid from Minnesota.
Wow.
A kid from Memphis, Tennessee, and then a kid from Alabama. So they're
all regions.
Yeah, right. I don't believe in I have to just recruit at this one place, because there's so much talent across the United States. And if I just sit there and just focus on one area, I'm going to miss out on a potential good kid. So
tell me some improvements that for your team though for next year, because you and the coaches, your assistants, you look at this, you won a game more than last season. So that's great. What do you do going forward though, when you look at everything together and how you can improve? And really, I think a lot of it too is the talent that you have, it's gotten better. I think with practice and what they've seen with their own eyes and experience, that plays a part too. So tell me what your goal is for this upcoming year, if we hope there is a season.
Right. I'm pretty optimistic. I think there will be a season. But, our goal for this next year is going to be making the conference tournament. We haven't done that in a while at Fisk. And I think that that's going to be the very first goal that we're going to try to attack. It's going to be a big thing for Fisk if we make that conference tournament. So, as soon as they come in August, when school starts, hopefully, they're going to have to hit the ground running. And there's going to be a different expectation, because it is the second year for me. And the returners are going to now understand what to expect. So they're going to come in with a different mindset, and they're just going to push the freshmen to have no choice but to be on that same page.
So the pressure builds. Let's be clear, right? As a head coach, there was that first year. Administration looks at, okay, Janine had her first year. Now it's second year. Can you build on and can you improve on what you did last year? And then for the players, there's more accountability to go around now.
Yes, 100%. Honestly, you know, of course, the first year I got the job late. I got it in July 15th that started. And then school started in August. Mm-hmm. It was a team that I inherited. So administration understood that. So this is my first recruiting class. You know, they're looking at that too. So your first recruiting class coming in, and then what have you done to elevate the current players that you have? And I definitely think that, you know, we're going to make some noise this year and we're moving in the right direction because, like I said, we did change the culture in that 1 year. And now they understand what is to be expected. So yes, the pressure does build. It does. But I'm not necessarily worried about that part because I know I'm going to work hard as a coach to get it done. And I know I have the right players on my side that's going to play hard for me. So I'm excited.
What do you do to help your student athletes stay eligible? Because I know with a lot of different programs, that seems to be sometimes a you know, coach has to, hey, I got to keep my eye on you, or I need to help you through this, or, you know, I'm here for you to help you to get the right guidance and counseling you need. How do you become observant in finding that if there's an issue there?
Honestly, you know, like I said, we implement study hall. That's a big thing. Sometimes you have to sit there and force the kids to sit in one room and do their work because they're not going to go do it on their own. At the end of the day, you know, they are young athletes, so they're teenagers, most of them. And you still have to, you know, pull their hand a little bit, like come here and sit down and do your work. But like I stated before too, letting them out of the practice because I know they have this paper due. And my players are very open to coming to me and telling me, like, coach, I got this paper due, I have this test, you know, like, can I miss practice? And like, that's the beauty of being at an NAI school, because I do have the flexibility to do that. You know, it's bigger than basketball here for us, and especially for me. So, you know, I think that just implementing study hall has helped tremendously, and being close to the tutoring center online, in, you know, like in the campus, and they are hands-on with everything. And I think that has definitely helped us too. I haven't really struggled with eligibility issues with my kids because they're pretty much on top of their grades and they understand what is expected of them.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Tell me a little bit about your players. You know, all your players are important, so we're not trying to single anybody out. But what players stand out to you that you've seen improvement and, you know, there's leadership, there's IQ on the floor, there's, you know, developing, helping their other teammates. What were some players that currently stand out for you, making a big impact for you and can make an impact for you next year?
So the senior that I'm losing, Jayla Long, she led the team in points, assists, and steals. So losing her is definitely going to be a big loss for us. But, you know, she was that leader on the floor. She wasn't very talkative, but she just led by example, and she worked hard every single day, which made others want to work hard too. And, you know, she was Defensive Player of the Year in the AII, which is our conference, and second team all conference too. Then I have a upcoming senior, Lyric Johnson, who has a 4.0 cumulative. And she's one of my captains. And, you know, she's just that heart on the floor that you need. If I needed to stop, I'm putting her on the best player. She wasn't great offensively, you know, as far as like scoring and stuff like that, but she was that kid that I needed on the floor at all times because she was that motor that kept them going. And, you know, she's a great captain. She's great at holding her teammates accountable. And then I have upcoming senior, Dominique Lee, who when I first started, I didn't think that she would be who she was today. She became more than a shooter for me. She was an actual scorer that could take somebody off the dribble now. And she's going to become an upcoming captain for me. So she stepped out of that shell. All of my incoming kids, I think, are going to be amazing. You know, I have a point guard coming in, Jaden Dunn from Texas, comes from a great program. Amaya Howard from California who can just shoot it and flat out, you know, get after it. I got a kid from Minnesota, Katia Cummings, who comes from a great program too, and she wants to work hard and she's, you know, she's after it. Then the kid from Memphis, Zipporah Davis, is coming in on a full academic scholarship.
Oh, nice.
She's not even getting any athletic money to play for us
Wow.
because she has a full academic ride. And, you know, she battled back from injuries and she wants to get after, she wants to win. And then I have a transfer from Gadsden State, Maya Langham from Alabama. And, you know, she has that mentality of already, I've been in college before and I know what it takes. So I think they're all coming in with that mindset that I need. And that's the type of kids that I recruited on purpose. So
Right. Do you find it hard to or I wouldn't say hard, but could be you're trying to wait for the right moment. I mean, do you find it where you lose a senior that is that person that expects, look, hey, we're all going to work hard. We're all going to put it on the floor. We're all going to put it in the classroom. Holds some of their teammates accountable. Is it hard to sometimes find that next person once that senior leaves and to find that next person up?
A little bit, but what I tried to do this year was put a freshman right under her or a sophomore right under her.
Smart.
So that learning from her so that when she leaves, they can just kind of fill in to what she was doing. So, you know, my biggest thing was to have my junior, my senior mentor the younger ones on the team so that they just were learning from them.
That's smart. You're thinking ahead. You have to. That's so important. That's so important. Well, let's get to know Janine Davis just a little bit better. What are some hobbies that you like to do and what kind of things do you enjoy doing when there is a little bit of sliver of time for you to enjoy some personal time?
So me, honestly, I'm just the type of person that likes to sit outside and enjoy the fresh air or like go bowling or, you know, something little like that. Even FaceTiming with my friends and my family because they're not here. I'm an easygoing person. I'll sit back and binge watch a Netflix series and I'll be happy.
Well, and we've been having to deal with that. If we haven't blown through a lot of, I mean, if you look at, you could probably ask a lot of people and say, what have you been doing? Well, some of it has been Netflix, Amazon Prime. I mean, there's been.
I mean, for me, like it hasn't been that big of a transition for me because I'm always at home anyway when I can be. So, I mean, like I said, I'm an easygoing person. I love being in the house. I love just sitting outside, which is what I've been doing. So,
Yeah. As a college coach, how important is your the administration and really the school's support and the parents and just the support for the program? How much does that mean to you? Because you've been at Fisk, you've played there, you've seen a lot of it. But going forward, how important is that? Is it to the team and to you and your program going forward?
it is very important, and I've had the support from my administration from day one. Even before I got here, I've had their support. And my vice president, VP Jude, he loves athletics. He's an athletics guy. He used to be in athletics. So, he takes that very serious. He's at every single game.
Oh, nice.
Every single game. And the president of the university, President Rome, he comes out to the games.
Love it.
Yeah. So my AD, he went to Fisk years ago. And he was my athletic director my senior year here at Fisk. So he's super supportive of me too in the program. We're a big family here at Fisk. And like I was saying, it goes back to people that you can lean on. And I never feel like I'm on the outskirts of things. Like I'm always in the middle of it and they're always supporting me through everything. Walking around campus, you have the president and the vice president eating in the caf with the students. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really see that either at other schools. So it's because we are a smaller school, it is allowed to happen because they do have that time to be able to connect with everyone.
Well, I tell you, if you're joining us, this is Janine Davis. She's the head women's basketball coach at Fisk University out of Nashville, Tennessee. And boy, I tell you, your story is amazing, Janine, because again, going into your second year and then, learning all the different ins and outs as far as what you've learned and through high school to college education, what your parents have instilled in you, and what you as a mentor, a coach, and a friend, and like you said, you have a lot of different hats, auntie, mom, that you give to your players. And I tell you, it's been a pleasure to talk to you, Janine.
Thank you so much for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. And I tell you, if you have any room for outside the games, for us to come in and watch, maybe make a trip out there, and we would love for that, and have a tour and see the university, because it sounds like a special place.
It is. It definitely is a special place. And like I said, it's bigger than basketball for us here at Fisk. We are a big family. We are. And, everyone is at home when they're here. I'm from New York City, and I made Nashville my home. So wow. You're definitely invited.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much. Well, hey, this has been Kevin Mann with Outside the Games. Janine Davis, go look her up. She is on Twitter. Your Twitter handle? I
just changed it. It's Coach J_Davis. I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Yeah.
I literally just changed it.
Yeah. Hey, you got to do that. That's fine. And then Fisk University, come and check them out. Especially any high school girls in high school that are looking to play on the next level. I'm sure hit up Janine, I think, or your program if there's any interest there. But definitely, hey, we appreciate you very much. Much love from us. From Outside the Games to you and your.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.